and you can look at each other and be comfortable. So we're rolling whenever you guys are ready.
Comfortable? I am comfortable. I'm very comfortable. Very comfortable. Hi everyone, this is Brubra, special correspondent with Melanin, Monarchy, and I'm here with Harris of Nitzer Ebb. It's been 2 years since we talked to Bon, and we're catching up after a long break on the internet. We've seen each other personally, of course. Yes. We're buds out here. And I wanted to just spend some time to kind of go over some things that I might have missed the last time we talked.
Okay.
And just so you know, if I say anything that sounds ridiculous about the band, that you're like, I've never heard this bullshit before, just know that I found it because I've read something that's just out there. You know, because if it's on the internet, then it's got to be true. So we'll kind of just set that groundwork right there. All right. So I wanted to ask you. I don't think I ever did, but the name Nitzer Ebb. I have friends that go back with whether it's Nitzer or Nitzer, but neither here nor there. The way you came up with the name, I read somewhere that you actually didn't. It's not like from some German words. You like did a Scrabble or something?
Yeah,
came up with the name. Is that what happened? What's the story there?
Yeah, kind of. Just like random words, random letters. We wanted it to sound vaguely European.
Okay.
You know. So yeah, it's just that sort of time-honoured technique of chucking loads of cut-up letters in a hat and rearranging them until
I think
something started to form.
Yeah, I think the Beatles did that with their name.
Did they?
Yeah.
All
right.
Second time I've been compared to the Beatles.
It's the second time. I know. It's like.
This is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Greatness. Anyway, so other than that, I mean, starting in '83 with the band, really was it '83 or that was the first album record release in '83?
Yeah, round about then for
1983 for you.
Yeah. I mean, we'd been messing around with music for a while, but when we first really sort of took that format, it was around about 83.
Coinciding with my entry into high school, which in Detroit, this band comes along. I think the album I saw came out in '87, and that was that Total Age. And huge hit where I'm from. Now, I've heard your band described as electric body music or electronic body music. Have you heard this term before?
Yeah, it's become pretty common these days, EBM, you know. There's been various permutations over the years, people trying to find a category for it, but yeah, people seem to have settled for electronic body music.
Okay, well, I'd never heard of it before, and I thought it was ridiculous. So maybe what's currently called EBM, I don't know, because when I was growing up, no one said EBM. They just called it industrial or electronic or techno.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, your inspirations, well, I understand you guys kind of drew inspirations from Susie and the Banshees, Bauhaus, Killing Joke.
Yes.
And that kind of inspired you guys, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of a mixture of things, you know. Mine and Dave's older brothers were buying records, so they were sort of like on the crossover with like glam rock, but they also listened to soul, funk and reggae, so we kind of grew up with that. And then as we were coming into our own musical tastes, we were a bit young for the beginning of punk, but we were around for it. And sort of disco music was kind of that mid-70s, 76, 77. And then, you know, as a follow-on from that, post-punk into like Susie and the Banshees and stuff like that. But we never really lost touch with our roots with like funk music and soul music and reggae, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we were a real mixture. Someone was talking to me at the show last night. She said she grew up in Texas, in Dallas. So she liked punk music and dance music and just felt like she didn't really fit anywhere until she heard Total Age. And she was like, this is punk music and dance music. I found my people.
I think, yeah, I would say that. Growing up in Detroit, I think it's one thing that hooked us in to joining the chant and the other great hits from that album, is that it was like electronic and funk and dance, and we got it in Detroit. The black community in Detroit got it, and we were hooked right in. I mean, you guys, it was Kraftwerk as well. I mean, all this European electronic music came in, and we were hooked in. And I think my group, my nerdy friends, people thought we were weird, but it kind of really spread throughout the community and really took off. So you guys were a huge hit. Yeah,
and it makes sense. I mean, when you think as well about, glam rock, that was heavily based on blues. All of it was based on 12-bar blues. So, the influence is there. It runs through everything, really. The foundation of black music runs through most popular music.
Sure.
You know, so it's inevitable that was a huge influence, and then kind of mixed with our sort of English working class roots.
Yes.
You know, that both cultures kind of had this working class, rebellious, kind of anti-authoritarian or self-liberated kind of approach.
Yeah.
And to us, it always made sense that, you know, those two things would go together.
Yeah, and the sound you have created. Now, I will note that from my perspective, I mean, the three I mentioned, Bauhaus, Killing Jokes, Susie and the Banshees, very different sounding bands, particularly Bauhaus and Susie.
Yeah.
And you guys come up with your sound. What was kind of, I'm trying to think, what were the first notes that you guys were, okay, this, did you define it? Like, okay, we want to do the beats, we want to do electronic, we want to do some pounding drum. What was the discussion about how you came up with it? Not
necessarily. I mean, I think the final point you hit on there is a key one: rhythm. You know, we were always very driven by rhythm, and you know, even on the early records, the musicality, such as it is still highly percussive. I mean, really, they are sort of enhanced drum beats, you know, with a few notes, you know. So I would say that was the main thing that probably, not the only thing, I mean we like good melodies and atmosphere and everything else, but that was a key thing for a lot of the music that we listened to, was the rhythmic foundation.
I think I saw an interview where a guy was saying, I don't know if it was one of you guys, but that Nitzer Ebb was like techno with the guy singing over it.
Yeah.
Is that something that you heard before as you described it?
Yeah, kind of, you know, I mean, it wasn't so unusual for us, I don't think, like, you know, say like take Donna Summer, you know, it's like someone wanting to do electronic music, but the vocal hook was a key thing. And, you know, I was talking to Daniel Miller about it the other day, and you know, he was saying about the early songs, it's like the music is incredibly repetitive, and any sense of song structure, we didn't really have verses and choruses, but there was a definite structure to it, and that mainly came from Doug's vocals, you know, and how you know, it would break into a chant and then go into a sort of a more narrative sort of thing. So yeah, that sort of sense of minimalism and trying to, you know, have something that resembled a song structure that had some interest and wasn't just, you know, music concrete or just some kind of repetitive backdrop. Having some kind of structure in it without getting too musical. We were always a little bit like
anything like melodic or flowery.
If it went too far away from drums, you know, careful. You know?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to ask about your project we talked about a couple years ago, Microfunk.
Yes.
And what's going on with that venture?
Well, you know, I kind of had the idea to do the Microfunk EP before the lockdown, and I wanted to use live musicians, live brass. You know, my whole idea was to do like a very sort of quirky electronic kind of foundation, but with live brass elements, and very much take a nod from 70s soul and funk music, because that's, you know, that's what my brother always played with. So I started doing that, and then the pandemic came along. And I knew I wanted to sing again on the Microfunk thing, so that's where Songs from the Lemon Tree came from, because I was kind of preparing myself to sing, and then we got locked down for much longer, so I kind of got wrapped up in that project. And I had plans to release the Lemon Tree album and to do a second and a third EP for Microfunk. And then, you know, the unfortunate situations with Doug's health in Nitzer Ebb took over. So then suddenly Nitzer Ebb took up so much more of my time, because I was having to fill in for the vocals and take on so much of the work there. So they kind of got sidetracked, you know, but I'm hoping at some point this whole situation of keeping the Ebb on track and keeping it moving forwards will start to self-sustain, and I might have a little bit more time to get back to those solo projects. So I would say they got postponed, you know, and I hope to get back to them at some point, but obviously for the moment the priority is keeping the Ebb going.
Absolutely. And right now you're on tour. Tell us about the tour you're going right now.
It's kind of a short tour for us. We're on with Frontline Assembly and a whole roster of other industrial acts, and we're kind of jumping on for the weekend shows, just doing a run of about 7 shows. We're playing here tonight at the Mayan in LA, and it's we kind of figured that it would be good to. We've been playing the same kind of format and presentation for our live show for a while, and we felt like we wanted to switch it up and kind of go back to our roots a little bit. So this run that we're doing now is kind of like the first incarnation of a refreshed approach for us. So, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. And again, I want to ask about your new setup you mentioned earlier when you were doing the sound check.
Yeah.
But also, like, you were doing the tour with Ministry some time ago.
Yeah.
And they did something where they kind of focused on the one album.
Yes.
And there was like this delightful, you know, what do you call that? When you throwback, not throwback, you know, resurgence or something.
Yeah, retrospective.
Retrospective. Yes, that's it.
If you ever need a word.
That's right. Just
give me a ring.
Give me a ring. So for you guys, is that kind of what you're thinking of doing now with this tour? Kind of having sort of a going back a little bit more of the Total Age and.
Not necessarily in the sense of one album or particular songs. It's more like the spirit of the band and everything else. It's sort of like, you know, we were starting to feel like a yearning to return to our roots. A little bit more raw, a little bit more punk rock, because that's where we came from, you know. So we really enjoyed doing the electronic thing, and it's not to say that we won't do it again. Yeah, it's kind of a history of that with this band, where we experiment a lot with different things. We're kind of restless in that regard, which I think is good. You know, I think every artist should try and push themselves a little bit. So in this particular thing, it is sort of full circle, but with a lot of the modern things that we've taken on board in the last few years. So yeah, it feels like a good mixture, and it just feels natural and the right time to do it, you know.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for sitting down with me. Great seeing you, man. We will see Nitzer Ebb on tour. Catch them on tour with Frontline Assembly and a number of other fantastic bands. Vaughn, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure too. Thank you, sir.
Do the pip.
Bye.